Hi there, Paul here from Spitfire Audio. In this video, we're going to look at the string section of the BBC Symphony Orchestra plugin. So just opening there with the legato patch from the Violin 1 section. It's just designed so that you can play and everything just reacts and provides you with something that sounds really good, really realistic. There are obviously controls where you can control the vibrato and the dynamics on this patch. So I'm going to show you that as well. So it's very easy to get a really musical sound from the patch. Let's look at some of the other articulations. So we have our standard long notes, and this is a polyphonic patch, which means that you can play lots of different notes at the same time. Again, very dynamic, very beautiful and intense and passionate sound. Here's the consort sound. So this is with the mutes attached to the bridge of the violins. And again there you can hear that you've got the difference in the vibrato and the non-vibrato, which gives you an extra dimension of musical control. Here's the flautando, and this is a kind of glassy floating sound. So a really, really soft and delicate sound. We move into our short notes. All of the kind of most commonly used articulations or playing styles are on the front page of the articulation browser. Now, what we're listening to at the moment is Jake Jackson's real mix. So there is also a more hyped sounding mix, which sounds like this. But we can also dig into the individual mics. I'm just going to give you a very quick blast through a few of these. There's a close mic. The Deckard Tree has a more kind of classical orchestral sound. And if you don't want the orchestra in their kind of seated positions, this close, wide mic signal is really useful because it positions it in the center but gives you a nice wide stereo close image to play with. We've also got these fabulous spill mics, which is the sound of the Violin 1 section being heard by all of the other mics in the whole orchestra setup. But if you want more information about that, there's a whole other video which is dedicated specifically to all of the microphone options. So let's switch back to the mix and keep going through the sound. So we've got staccatos here. So a slightly longer sounding short note than the spiccato, very useful as well. We've got our pizzicato or plucked. The col legno, or striking the string with the back of the bow. Sometimes pencil is used or another piece of wood, drumsticks and things like that. But traditionally it's the back of the bow. Dynamically controllable tremolo. So again, very dynamic from whisper quiet through to super loud. We've got our trills. And of course the minor trills. The long saltasto, which means playing with the bow over the fingerboard, which gives you a really delicate, soft sound. Harmonics. We've got two types of harmonics, long and short. So dynamically controllable there as well. Our Bartok pits, the marcato attack, so solpont meaning played with the bow right next to the bridge, so you get that kind of brittle sound. Here is the muted tremolo, which is a really lovely sound as well. So again, that goes at a full volume, but it's particularly nice played softly. Here are the normal long notes solpont. And finally, a spiccato with the mutes on. Which gives that lovely kind of softening of the sound that you get with the mutes. So what about the leader? Now you'll see that there's a leader microphone here. And if we listen to just the leader microphone, that sounds like this on the normal long notes. So you can hear some of the other players in the background. So the answer to this was to record the leader just on their own, and we've got that for every section of the strings. So we move across to Jake's mix again and take a quick listen through these. Slightly reduced number of articulations from the main section, but still pretty much everything that you would usually want to use. So really agile, and you can pretty much play anything and you'll get a good representation of what you're trying to achieve. This also sounds great if you play using chords. And of course with the sordino, with the mutes. And one thing that sounds really lovely is putting some of the onboard reverb on. You can really hear the rosin there if we go to town and really dial it up. So let's take the reverb off and carry on listening. So we've got this flautando. Which is that beautiful kind of glassy sound. The spiccatos are absolutely fantastic, lovely and crisp. The different performance style of the staccato. Gives you a really useful alternative. And then our usual pizzicatos. Collegnos. And again, our tremolos here. the major second trill. These actually sound really lovely if you play chords on them quite quietly. And also the minor second similarly. We've got our soltasto on the individual leader. Which is a really beautiful sound. And the harmonics as before. Short harmonics. Bartok pits. So jumping across to violin twos. And again, full dynamic control and vibrato control. We've got all of the same articulations here. Jumping through a few of my favourites. And the leader of the violin 2 section this time. Very, very playable and agile. Going again into our consordinos. Fantastically cheeky pizzicato. Beautiful harmonics. And the trills and all of the other articulations that you have in the section 1 leader. So moving through to the violas. And this viola section just sounds simply beautiful. And it's equally agile as the violins. So let's have a listen to the longs, and actually let's switch to a different mic for this. So let's turn off the mix and have a listen to the close wide. If we put a dash of our reverb on. So that's a really interesting comparison to make actually while we're on this sound. So let's put a bit of the close mics in. Let's get the outriggers and the ambience to get that real kind of feeling of scale, but also add in a little bit of the full spill mix to give us the sound of the rest of the room, all of those other microphones picking up the violas here. And just to have a quick listen to the spiccatos. While we're on this mix, and looking at that lovely quiet kind of trill, major second trills. Beautiful sound, really like that. Obviously we've got our marcatos, which give you that lovely strong attack, and those mysterious and slightly nerve-wracking solponts. And the tremolo solpont, which is where you really feel that that close to the bridge sound. So you get the idea. You've got that fantastic crisp sound. Let's have a quick listen to the leader of the viola section. So again, very agile pizzicatos and the spiccatos. Jumping across to the cellos. So similarly, very, very agile sound with the cellos. And if we dive into these, some of these softer cello sounds are among my favourite sounds in the whole library. The flautando. And just jumping across to the soltastos. Such a beautiful, soft, delicate sound. Fantastic marcato attacks. And the tremolos. Again, super dynamic. These harmonics. And the consort tremolos. Really like that. So let's move across to the leader of the cello section. So again, we've got a fantastically agile, playable leader of the cello section there, and going into some of these beautiful individual sounds. Let's check out the basses. So a fantastic basses section here. Again, can go really quiet. And the muted sound is really lovely as well. Pizzicato, obviously. Lovely spiccatos and staccatos, which is the slightly stronger, slightly longer sound. Col legnos are great. You can also play them quietly. So they're very dynamic as well. The tremolos are great in the basses. So they go from that whisper quiet to a real kind of roar. The harmonics are really lovely in the basses as well. It's quite an unusual sound. But it does make a nice texture. And finally, the tremolo sol pont, which are really kind of aggressive down the bottom end. But do die away with that dynamic controller right back to a gentle whisper. So the last thing to look at is the leader of the bass section. Let's check out the consort sound, which is less pronounced in the basses than it is with the other strings because of the mass of the instrument and the strings, but it still has a different texture. Lovely sound there, and obviously you can control the vibrato and the dynamic. In the flautando sound as well, we've got that really soft dynamic sounds beautiful on the bass on its own. A really gentle sound. The pizzicato bass is a great sounding pizzicato. And of course our spiccatos and the heavier staccato. The spiccato has the bouncier sound and the staccato just has that slightly longer, more bowed sound about it. So that it's very useful having both of those. The saltastos, again, with these kind of slightly wider spaced chords. So going back to our violin 1 section, just to finish and putting up our usual kind of Spitfire mix of close, tree and outriggers. So that's an overview of the string section of the BBC Symphony Orchestra plugin. Check out the links below for more information about the library. Subscribe if you haven't already, and ding that bell icon if you want to be notified next time we put a video up. Thanks very much for watching. See you on the next one. Bye-bye.